A major update from the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, is making headlines, and it could have a big impact on thousands of state pensioners across the UK. But before we dive into the details, make sure to subscribe to my channel right now so you never miss important updates on pensions, benefits, and all things that affect your financial life. This news could affect your wallet this winter, so stay tuned. The government has confirmed a significant change to the winter fuel payment scheme, and it's sparking real concern across the country. If you're a state pensioner and earn under £35,000, you might assume you're automatically eligible for this support during the coldest months of the year. But the reality is more complicated. Many will, in fact, be denied the winter fuel payment entirely, including some of the most vulnerable people in society. The changes are raising eyebrows, particularly for those living in care homes or relying on other forms of state support. The winter fuel payment is designed to help pensioners cover the rising cost of heating during winter. Normally, this payment ranges between £200 to £300, depending on your circumstances, and is seen as a lifeline by many older people struggling with energy bills. But this year, the rules are getting stricter. According to the latest guidelines from the DWP, state pensioners who live in care homes and receive certain benefits will not be eligible for the payment. Specifically, those receiving pension credit, universal credit, or income-related employment and support allowance, ESA, between 23 June and 21 September 2025 will miss out entirely. This move has been flagged by Age UK, a leading charity that supports older people. They are now issuing warnings to care home residents and their families. Their message is clear: if you're in a care home during the eligibility window and receiving these specific benefits, don't expect that winter fuel payment to arrive. And the implications of this are serious. Many residents already struggle to meet the basic costs of living, and energy bills don't disappear just because you're in a care facility. The financial burden doesn't vanish, it just shifts. In many cases, residents or their families still cover costs like room heating, medical equipment, or private fees, meaning the loss of this support could be felt keenly. But care home residents aren't the only ones who might lose out. The DWP has also listed several other groups that won't be eligible for the payment under the new rules. If you live outside of England and Wales, for example perhaps in Scotland or Northern Ireland, you might not qualify either. This is a surprising turn for some, as these payments have historically applied across the UK, but regional governance and devolved policy differences mean that eligibility can now vary based on where you live. Furthermore, if you were in hospital for the entire week of 15 to 21 September 2025, receiving free inpatient care, then you are also excluded from receiving the winter fuel payment. Yes, you heard that correctly. Even if you were ill, undergoing treatment, and staying in hospital full-time, you won't be getting that £200, £300 help. The same applies if you were in prison for the whole of that week. It's clear the DWP is drawing a hard line on eligibility based not just on income but on very specific life circumstances. The exclusions don't stop there. If you're someone who requires permission to live in the UK, meaning your visa or immigration status specifically states that you cannot claim public funds, then you're also not eligible to receive winter fuel payments. These types of restrictions typically apply to people on certain visas or residency statuses that limit access to state benefits. While this might seem reasonable to some from a policy perspective, critics argue that it still impacts elderly migrants who have lived and worked in the UK for years but now find themselves locked out of basic support in retirement. There's one more major caveat. Even if you do live in a care home, you may still get the payment in some cases, but only if you're not receiving any of the following: universal credit, pension credit, income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, or income-related employment and support allowance, ESA. That's a long list, and if you receive any of these, the payment disappears. Plus, if you've been living in a care home since before 23 June 2025 and remained there through the eligibility window, you're likely disqualified regardless of other factors. This complexity is leaving many older people and their families confused and frustrated. After all, the winter fuel payment was introduced as a universal support mechanism, not a selective one. The idea was to protect pensioners from choosing between heating and eating. Now, with the web of exceptions tightening, fewer people can rely on it, even as energy prices remain stubbornly high and inflation continues to impact household budgets. Now, here's another twist that's causing even more confusion. If your annual income exceeds £35,000, the winter fuel payment may still be clawed back by HMRC. That's right, you might receive it, only to have it taken back later. This applies even if you didn't ask for it in the first place. That's why some people are now choosing to opt out of receiving the winter fuel payment altogether. According to recent statements from the Labour Party, you are within your rights to refuse the payment if you feel you don't need it or if you're worried about being forced to return the funds later. This opt-out option is rarely publicised but could be an important consideration for higher income pensioners. So how do you know whether you're eligible or not? Well, if you meet the criteria and aren't caught by any of the exclusions we've mentioned, the DWP will send you a letter in October or November outlining exactly how much you'll get. That letter serves as both confirmation and notification, so keep an eye on your post around that time. If you don't receive anything by the end of November, it might be time to contact the Winter Fuel Payment Centre to ensure you haven't been missed or wrongly excluded. As we approach the colder months, the question on everyone's mind is this fair? Should vulnerable pensioners, especially those in care homes or hospitals, be denied the support they once relied on? Should your income level or temporary circumstances determine whether you get help with heating your home in the winter? It's a debate that's only going to intensify as more people find out they've been removed from the eligibility list. The government argues that these changes are necessary for targeting support more effectively, particularly in times of economic strain. But critics, including charities, advocacy groups, and many pensioners themselves, see it as a cruel tightening of the welfare net. They warn that older people may be left struggling, especially as energy providers are not lowering prices in line with inflation. And with the cost of living crisis far from over, the loss of the winter fuel payment could push some people over the edge financially. It's worth remembering that many older people are already cutting back on essentials, including food, medication, and social interaction, just to afford basic heating during the winter. Removing or limiting the winter fuel payment, even if it seems like a small amount to some, could have major consequences on people's mental and physical health. It's not just about money, it's about safety, dignity, and respect in old age. So, what can you do right now? First, check your eligibility, review your income, your benefit status, your living arrangements, and whether you were in hospital or prison during the qualifying week. Make sure your personal information is up to date with the DWP to avoid any unnecessary delays or exclusions. And if you believe you've been wrongly denied the payment, you can appeal or submit a claim with supporting evidence. We'll be closely monitoring how these changes unfold and whether public pressure or political debate causes any reversals. But for now, many pensioners face a winter without the safety net they once depended on. For continued updates on this issue and all things related to pensions, benefits, and cost of living, make sure you subscribe to my channel. We break down complex news into clear, easy to understand stories that matter to you. Stay warm, stay informed, and subscribe now so you never miss a crucial update. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.